And I don't know if anyone's looked at the sheet and seen this, but Adam does not pick his prospects well.
The question is, does Max make the playoffs if he doesn't sell?
Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to the first and hopefully last episode of the Fuck the Nats podcast.
That's the thing. It's like when you're me and like you know that you're a fucking idiot, stick with Christian Vasquez and he will lead my team in steals again.
The memories that come to the surface most clearly are me sorting my baseball cards one way one night and then completely redoing them the next night.
Actually, I'm going to reframe this. JD, why don't you start by talking about Dylan Beavers?
Apologies, I couldn't hear your question because the audio went out.
All right, hello, welcome everyone into the FTN podcast. It's the special edition. It's the Perry pod. We got the man of the hour here. Perry's joining us. I don't know how the layout actually is. I'm going to say Perry's to the right, but maybe on your screens he's to the left. But I got Perry to the right of me. Ben even more to the right of me. Ben, as always, thanks for joining. You're wearing the Reds jersey. Which one is this, Ben?
Yeah, this is a Joey Votto jersey. It's like one that they just throw into the stands, and I found it at Goodwill for like $3. So it was a steal of a jersey.
Love it. Love to see it. And Perry, you got a hat that says like Chicago Dogs on it, and then is that a Rice shirt?
Yeah, the hat Chicago Dogs, a little independent league that plays out in the suburbs of Chicago out in Rosemont. It's kind of fun. They had like 48-year-old Carlos Zambrano pitching in it after he retired and some ridiculous things like that. So it's kind of fun out there. $2 beer. It's a good time on Thursdays for sure.
Oh, nice.
That's electric, man. When I played like MLB 2K7, 8, 9, one of those games, when I was living overseas, I had a lot of free time. And so I played like these MLB 2K games. And there was this one, and Carlos Zambrano was like one of the best players in the game at the time. When I hear Carlos Zambrano, I think of like those early MLB 2K games, but very interesting. Perry, how have you been, man? Are you in Chicago these days?
Doing well, yeah. Been in Chicago, although doing some traveling this month. Was just out in the Grand Canyon with some friends doing some hiking earlier this month. So that was fun. And headed down to Mexico for a golf trip in about a week or so. So looking forward to that. Get some good weather and see the beach down there. So it should be a good time.
Yeah, so you got any plans to watch the Masters this weekend and like preparation, get all pumped for the golf?
Yeah, it should be fun. We got around on Saturday and Sunday, so during the Masters, so that'll be interesting to be playing and watching. It's kind of cool. It's like one of my friends invites me out every year, and it's like a super fancy resort where they host like the Mexican Open. So you're like required to have a caddy there, and they are like caddies who are caddying for PGA professionals during the Mexican Open, which is kind of cool to listen to their advice. And I feel like it's where I get the most significant improvement in my golf game is whenever he invites me down for this trip.
Yeah, for sure. That's it. So I was we'll get to the baseball in just one second, but I was in Cancun last year and played the Mayakoba course, which it's not the PGA course, but it's the one that they use.
Do you guys just want to have like a golf chat? Come on. We want to talk about Perry's. I don't care about you playing golf down in Mexico. God. I let Perry continue with this story. I don't care about you.
We have an hour carved out for this pod. We're just catching up with Perry, letting people know he's good, letting people know what he's up to.
Yeah, but we don't need to know you're
I'm interested in the golf. I played the Live course. I'm excited to hear about what you think of the PGA course.
Definitely, it should be a good time.
Okay, we'll get into baseball. We'll get into baseball now. I prepared our 3 key storylines coming out of this past week, and we are certainly going to get into those. But we had breaking news about 30 minutes ago at this point that Jackson Holliday is in the major leagues. This is big. He is owned by Jacob, and Jacob out to a little bit of a struggle his first 2 weeks ever out here in FTN.
He's acing Vinny right now.
He's acing Vinny right now. I saw he's got insane RBI numbers for the week already, but he is about to add a bona fide superstar prospect, number one prospect in baseball. You guys have any initial reactions? Let's start with you, Ben. What's your initial reaction here?
I mean, I expected it honestly later than it's happening. I guess the Orioles are a little frustrated with their start. Oh, Drew was really curious. He walked away. But no, I think the Orioles, were struggling a little bit. I don't know how the last 2 or 3 days, but last time I looked, they were like a 500 club. So I can imagine they're like, hey, you know what? The team that we want to be this year is better than a 500 club, especially to come out of the gate running with all these young guys. So I'm sure they just feel like they need a little juice to get things moving in the right direction. That's the way I look at it. I mean, it's awesome for Jacob.
Perry, what's your take from an FTN perspective? Right, you're a team with a lot of young guys and a lot of, you dealt with this with Volpe last year, although Volpe made the opening day roster but struggled right out of the gate and didn't. He put up what I have seen called the most uninspiring or unimpressive 2020 season we've seen in a while. Of course, he's showing out this year, but with Jackson Holiday, this is, has been said, a little earlier than maybe people expected. What do you think this means in terms of for Jacob from an FTN perspective?
No, I think this is great for Jacob. I think it's good to have the young guys come up, get promoted, see how they can perform at the MLB level and not down in AAA. I mean, obviously we all know who Holiday is. We know kind of the reputation that he already has and has earned down in the minors. So I think it's well-deserved. And I think kind of as we were talking about, the Orioles have a lot of good young position players, and they'll need to decide kind of how to fix that logjam a little bit. But I think this is really only good news for Jacob to have another young guy up and contribute to his team. I think he'll be a staple on his team for many years to come.
Absolutely. I think this is big. A log jam for the Orioles, maybe not quite a log jam for Jacob, who could use all the talent he can get at this moment with a, let's call it a glorified expansion franchise in a way. Let's move on.
A little rude on that one. I'm not sure I understand that. Whatever that tag you just placed on him was, that was a little offensive for a guy who's acing a team that you all think is going to finish above me. So
it's Tuesday, Ben. We're not even through Tuesday. Come on, man.
You know what? You were the guy who was deciding people's fate 4 days into the season. I don't want to hear it's this Tuesday business.
All I'll say is that there's a reason we do this on Tuesday, and that's so we don't start to get into this following week and start
Drew has specifically warned me against doing this year. I refuse not to look and acknowledge the reality in front of my eyes.
There were just multiple times last year where we would do a podcast on a Monday night, and then we're talking about Monday scores.
Yeah, these podcasts are a series of looking back at the week, as it is not the current week. So I will do my best to refrain from talking about things that have happened.
All right, so I actually meant to delete my little small notes around here, but let's start from the top. The three big storylines that I've identified from this past week. Let's start with how close the matchups were. I'm not going to go through the exact numbers, but if anyone wanted to, as we're kind of talking about this, and they just want to follow along, if you go back and you open up the app and look at the week 2 box scores, the amount of not just tied categories, but between runs, home runs, and RBIs, how many finished between 3 and 4 within each other, 43-40 or 13-11 for home runs in some matchups, 38-38, 10 and 10. Jacob and Sean tied 2 out of these 3 categories and were separated by 2 in RBIs. And that was the blowout match of the week. So we had either every matchup finishing 5-5 or 5-4-1. And then the one blowout matchup featured 3 tied categories, and so some of the other ones that were very closely won by Sean to create this blowout were super close in nature as well. My takeaway from this is just that it's great to see this sort of parity this early in the league. I think in previous years we can see some teams just jump out to some immediately hot starts when the top teams, their players are healthy all right at the beginning of the season, and they can just really race out of the gates. To see these teams competing, and like Perry, you're the perfect example, man. You top your division after finishing with what I believe to be the worst record in league history last year. Just amazing to kind of see these close matchups in week 1, but especially this past week.
Yeah, definitely. It's awesome to see the close matchups.
That was a monologue.
Yeah, it's awesome to see these close matchups.
There wasn't really a question. There wasn't really a question attached to that. But.
Drew just had to make his feelings known to everybody. He's really hyped for this. He's been telling me all week, and I have to agree with him. It's great to see the league. It's everybody's competing with one another. It's not some situation like last year where it's like, okay, you have some people that you're playing who are guaranteed wins for some of these big teams and guaranteed a lot of wins. It's everybody's going to give you a run for your money. I mean, hell, Drew was talking all week how he's going to smack the shit out of Ryan, the worst team in history. And then he comes out and he can't get the job done. I mean, it's embarrassing, frankly, for him. The rest of us had close games. Drew just had a disappointing week. I think he would agree with that.
I would disagree. I had a great week, and I topped the rotisserie rankings. I'm doing just fine. Ryan just had potentially his best week of the season, but he's got guys performing now. Jackson Churio, a young guy, and we know Skeens is going to be up. I mean, maybe Ryan surprises us all and does a little bit better. He's currently back to being Adam's daddy this week, which is so much fun to see because that's been a great storyline in years past. So love to see that one. This is a fun one to kind of debate a little bit, and my notes are really small, but the point of this one is Vinny and JD, and I took a screenshot at the time because obviously I knew it was going to change. Let me give you where they were at entering Sunday morning. So pitching was 70 strikeouts to 58 in favor of JD. So Vinny had a 22 strikeout deficit. Sorry, I'm terrible at math, and I'm an accountant. A 12 strikeout deficit. It was 7 wins to 5, and then ERA and WHIP were pretty razor thin. Both had ERAs between 2.5 and 3. So Vinny was a little bit behind on volume and behind on ERA and WHIP. JD had used all 4 matchup acquisitions. Vinny was sitting at 1 out of 4. If you're Vinny, come on. You have to use those remaining 3 matchup acquisitions on a Sunday to acquire pitchers to chase the volume, and then you're still behind in ERA and WHIP, right? What do you guys think? Like, should Vinny have picked up those guys, or was he ended up winning ERA, so maybe he was proven right in the end, but this was the marquee matchup of the week. Ben, what are your thoughts?
I don't think either person should have played it any differently. I think that they played it as best they could. I think that when you start to second guess those major decisions like that, that's when you fuck up. I'm a big fan of I've got a plan for the week. I'm going to commit to it. When you start to waver in that plan and do stupid things, that's how you end up tying Ryan. So, I like what they did. Vinny had a very good week. He would have beaten pretty much anyone, in the league in terms of, going 63 Ks, 6 wins, an ERA under 3, a decently low WHIP, and 7 safe holds. Great week for Vinny. It's like so many times you just run into that brick wall that is JD, especially on the pitching side of things. He's always been a really, really tough opponent. And then you have other games where it's like I was praying Max was going to do it. And Jacob, I was praying for you too, because I would love truly nothing more than to see these 2 guys knock down a peg. Stop thinking that they're the gods and they're going to win the division hands down every single year. It's just not the case. And I've loved to see the facts. And CJ Abrams just hit a 2-run bomb. Oh, it's a great night. I am watching the game while I'm talking, by the way, for everyone watching. But anyway.
It's like never not happen on a pod. Just a quick correction. Vinny won whip 1.14 to 1.14. Went to triple decimal places for Vinny to take that one. He finished 1 win and 13 strikeouts behind JD. And I guess Ben kind of gave us his perspective. But Perry, how do you weigh those Sunday matchup acquisitions when you could be so close to like a matchup? But in Vinny's case, maybe he just didn't want to drop anyone from his roster and felt like, you know, I got the Sunday and I didn't know which way it was going to go. And now I have a choice to make. But maybe I have to drop some guys that I otherwise wouldn't want to drop to waivers. So how would have you weighed like dropping some valuable pieces just to try to chase a couple of these categories on a Sunday? Is it super important in week 2?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, Vinny did not make the wrong decision. He might have made the right decision. He might have made a relatively neutral decision, but he did not make the wrong decision. He went and got up against JD and went down, like tied him 5-5. That's a good week for him, I'd say. And I think like looking at the numbers that you just said, hindsight, if he used 2 extra matchups and the pitchers each picked up like 5 Ks each, still doesn't win those matchups. Likely they don't get a win, loses chasing wins, and then whip, it's almost shot if it went to triple decimal points. I think 1 or 2 categories in week 2, I don't think it's worth chasing this early in the season, especially if there's a piece that it's so early in the season and he's still, on the fence about whether he wants to keep on the roster. I don't think it's worth it to potentially lose against JD when you have a tie in the bag and you can kind of keep steady state at that point. So I think Vinny handled it well. Maybe he could have handled it better, but I think there was more risk to conducting those extra matchup acquisitions, especially with probably who was on waivers at the time.
Yeah, I'm happy you said that very final thing there at the end. I think we've seen it a little bit with Jack, and this is going to be the perfect segue into our next point. But before we get there, the waiver wire is extremely thin for pitchers, with more people seemingly competing this year. Yeah, with more people seemingly competing this year and not really like they're emphasizing winning over the rebuilding, so they are streaming those pitchers. There's just simply less options available, and we've seen Jack get hurt by this year already. I don't want to. I'm not calling you out because I hate you, Jack, even though I do. I'm calling you out because you're the first person that pops into my mind when I think of waiver wire acquisitions gone wrong so far in 2024. And it's not been good for him. He has suffered the consequences. He was sitting at like an 8.5 ERA going into the weekend this past week, lost ERA and whip to you, Perry. I mean, you would have experienced this firsthand. So that's the perfect segue, though, into our third storyline coming out of this past week, and it's continued into this week with Framber Valdez getting placed onto the IL-15. That is elbows, as we all like to say in this league.
I need to call out a certain commissioner here, because we have 2 people on this podcast that are a fan of Spencer Strider, and we had a commissioner laughing at the fact that he was injured. It's pretty fucked up, if you ask me. That's all I need to say about it.
Or we laugh at the circumstances, not at the injury. So there's a difference.
I wouldn't want to be
a player it's been a real problem. Sorry, go ahead.
I wouldn't want to be a player on Adam's team right now. I feel like there's a little chance of injury after he made those comments. So I'm knocking on some wood here for everybody, but I wouldn't want to be on Adam's team right now.
Some bad karma coming his way.
So, yeah, I mean, you can see maybe you can't see the list again. We have people who probably only listen to it. So the short list is Yuri Perez, Spencer Strider, Shane Bieber, and Framber Valdez, and potentially Kevin Gossman. According to Jack, his velocity was down maybe 6 miles an hour, like an 85 mile per hour fastball in his last start. So maybe we'll see some injury news coming out of him. But yeah, the list is insane. It figures only to grow as the season goes on. Every year, I think, man, we're probably at capacity for pitcher injuries. I think 50% of all pitchers who appeared in a game last year ended up on the IL at some point. If we get into 60%, that number is unsustainable. MLB's got to do something. I don't know if there's really questions here for you guys, but it's crazy.
I just think it's one of those things that's almost honestly, it kind of suits the owners a little bit because they can just get these guys to hurl as fast as they possibly can, get them for 2 or 3 good years. They get hurt, they never pitch the same, and they never have to pay them. And they got 2 or 3 years of great pitchers. And unfortunately, I think that's the way it's going. Even if you tell guys, well, how can you regulate how fast you can throw? It's not how often you're doing it, it's how hard you're doing it. I mean, we all know this 10, 15 years ago, if a starter was throwing 100, we'd be like, holy shit, this guy's unbelievable. He's an instant Hall of Famer because he can do that all the time. Nowadays, it's like we don't even blink at people throwing 100-mile-per-hour sinkers. And it's kind of fucked up. And I think a lot of it, Strider is a very hard thrower. Fromber is just a workhorse, honestly. Just throws so many innings. And the other 2 guys are known for crazy breaking balls. So, it's just one of those things that I think we're going to continue to see in baseball until there's a thought change or until it starts to affect teams negatively. I mean, I don't know if you say, okay, you have an IL limit for pitchers on a given year. That you can't burn through 20 guys and get them all injured.
The waivers are going to be fascinating in FTN. Just continue to be fascinating.
Pitcher values are only going to keep rising and rising and rising.
Yeah.
Hey, Barry knows. He's got Jared Jones. I know he has a lot of people, myself included, reaching out about him. Interesting guy who's not hurt. But he's also one of those guys that throws very, very hard.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Jared Jones because let's get into some of the guest questions we have for Perry. And one of those questions was, we've seen Jared Jones now for you, Perry, and he's been super amazing this year. We spotlighted him last week in our pod. Check it out if you missed it. But the question that came in was, who's next for you, Perry? Who are you most excited about in your farm to see this year that hasn't debuted?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of good people in my farm that I'm excited about. In terms of someone who might debut this year, I got to go with Chase DeLauder. I'm really excited about him. He's one of the probably 2 people I'm most excited about with my farm in general, along with Walker Jenkins. Walker being a little bit younger, further out ETA, but I think those 2 guys joining in my outfield with Michael Harris, who acquired last year, Brian Reynolds, who I acquired last year, and then Jordan Walker, I think I'm going to fill out a very nice outfield in a couple years after those 2 specifically come up. Have Drew Jones as well. He was been injured, so I would say the jury's still out on him. I'm thankful that I have a couple other outfielders that I'm very excited about, so I can be pretty patient when it comes to Drew Jones.
Yeah,
Wait,
the
so
Louder's
Perry,
interesting.
hold on, Drew, before you ask.
Go ahead.
Perry, why didn't you mention Sixto Sanchez? FTN legend.
Absolutely.
He made an appearance.
I think
Come
he's
on,
appeared
are
in
we going to
like
see
maybe,
Sixto on the roster this year?
I don't think we'll see Sixto on the roster this year. He's made maybe, 5 or so appearances. God. I think he's given up a run in every single appearance, maybe more than 1 run even in some of those appearances.
Classic Sixto.
Yeah, he's staying the course.
I said to ask. Drew, continue.
Well, I was just going to say, on that prospect front, Chase DeLauder was one of those guys, kind of like Jackson Holiday, but I think there was always a little bit of doubt if the opposite. I think people definitely thought Holiday would debut at the majors, but DeLauder came in and crushed spring training and made a lot of people think, is he going to make the opening day roster? And so he was kind of a little bit of a surprise leave off at the end of the day, especially because his major league team could use all the offensive help it can get. They've needed it for years, especially in that outfield position. So DeLauder, definitely excited to look at him. And yeah, those other names that you mentioned, look, I don't think anyone in their right mind is going to say that they're a Drew Jones guy these days, but he was he the number 1 pick? He was a top 5 pick, at least. He was a top 5 pick for a reason. He's got the talent, son of a Hall of Famer. Is Andrew Jones a Hall of Famer? He should be if he's not. Soon to be. Greatest home run derby, I think I've ever seen was Andrew Jones. Obviously an Atlanta Braves legend. But okay, I have a question for you because I actually meant to talk about this and then I forgot. And so let's just ask, how you feel about the Braves? You're a resident Atlanta fan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel good. The offense is humming. Everyone's performing pretty well. Even the people that people are questioning, like Jared Kelenic, he's hitting out of his mind. That won't continue, but as long as he maintains a pretty decent average and a pretty decent OBP, that's okay for the Braves hitting in the 9-hole. I think all in all the stars are hitting well. Michael Harris is having a great year to start. I think that'll continue. So just really excited about the offense. And I think as probably every MLB team is concerned about, the concern is the pitching. Strider going down. I don't think we've heard the second opinion yet. I think that might have been today. It's definitely this week though. So it'd be interesting to hear exactly how long he'll be out for. Max Fried's been off to a really, really rough start. I don't think that'll continue. I think he'll figure it out and right the ship. And then it's just about, I would say, picking the right young guy to pull up into those kind of 4 and 5 spots as people get injured, right? Snicker and Alex Anthopoulos picked Bryce Elder very well last year. I don't think people saw him coming. I don't know how long he'll be with the Braves and how much impact he'll make in seasons to come, but I think he was really excellent last year, and I think we have a lot of people, Dodd, Winans, that could come in and do the same thing and be excellent for half a season and kind of wait till some people are back healthy, wait till the trade deadline, make some reinforcements, and then try to get as healthy as possible for the playoffs. I think with the division, it's really just the Phillies. They're a really good team as well. I think they'll make the playoffs, put up a good run. We've obviously seen how they hurt us in the postseasons past couple of years. So I think the Braves have actually never beaten the Phillies in the postseason in the history of the team. So definitely kind of something to get off the back that I'm hoping for another rematch with the Phillies come this postseason.
I feel like in prior years, like since the wild card was a thing, we've seen the Braves and Phillies not really be good at the same time. They kind of took turns being good. It's like as soon as the Braves dynasty with Maddox died down a little bit, like that era of Braves, that's when the Phillies rose up and they had like Ryan Howard. They won that series. And then the Braves and Phillies both kind of went into a rebuild for a long time. And now the Phillies emerged and the Braves emerged, arguably even better than the Phillies. So now they're both good. So definitely could be some exciting playoff matchups there. And yeah, Max Fried is not just an X factor, I think, for your favorite MLB team, but for you as well, Perry. You made a big trade for him in the offseason. You need him to be big. Next question. This is a fun one. So where do you see yourself, Perry? Are you still a rebuilding team? Are you in the rebuilding phase? Or are you approaching this season now in first place through 2 weeks into your division and injuries ravaging across the league? Are you like, my time is now?
Yeah, I think we're in a dynasty league. We don't need to make too many rash decisions. I don't think I need to sell every young person I have to try to win now. I think I can kind of stay the course, be patient. I think Max is a little bit of an older team within my division, so I think timing it right with as his players get older and my players get a little bit younger. I mean, we saw the leap that Volpe make. I think we'll continue to see players on my team make leaps in the future. So I think I'm not going to sell too many young guys. I'll want to keep investing in those young guys to make sure that my team's sustainable. But yeah, I think I'm definitely on the upswing. I don't think I'm a favorite to win the division by any means. I wouldn't say that, but I definitely think I'm on the upswing, getting better, and a threat to come in the next couple of years.
Good stuff. Ben, you have any questions for Perry while we got him here?
Specifically, I mean, do you realistically see yourself as someone? I guess that's kind of the same question I would have had that, Drew gave, was do you see yourself as realistic? But obviously you already gave you that answer. So, no, I don't say I wouldn't have any specific questions.
Okay. Well, I think those are some good answers, and I think this is going to put us at a good time spot to move on to maybe everyone's favorite segment. Maybe it's their least favorite segment.
Oh, wait, hold on. Before we move on to everyone's favorite or least favorite segment, I have to call out someone in this league. Because someone in this league, his name is Jack, approached me today. And he sent me after I clowned on George Kirby in the group me and said he's washed. Jack messaged me and said, what would you give me for George Kirby? I made him an offer, and he was like, that's a joke, but he's like, thanks for the low ball. And so we got on this conversation. Is George Kirby a top 10 starting pitcher in fantasy? I said no. He says yes. He bet me $100. I said yes to it, and then he retracted the offer because I think he realizes it too. But I was just curious on everyone in the league's thoughts on that. Is he a top 10 starting pitcher?
Put it down in the comments if you have an opinion. I want to see Jack produce a list. I want to see Jack's own personal top 10. That way we can clown on him, with the actual facts as presented in front of us.
So anyway, continue. I just need to handle that business real quick.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think our conversation is going to veer in the direction of George Kirby unless it is referring to where Jack's team stands in the power rankings, because that is what we are going to do right now. Like I said, everyone's favorite thing. We're going to do it. This is how we're going to do it. And for the time being, until somebody comes up with a better idea, then you're going to continue to do your power rankings, and we're going to trend these week to week so we can see how these are changing. And then we'll let Perry give his rankings 1 through 12. I didn't prep Perry for this, so I'm putting him on the spot. We'll see.
I didn't prep myself either, so we're both on the spot.
Yeah, but that one is expected that you never do any prep. So, Ben, let's hear him. 1 through 12 or 12 through 1. I don't care what order you want to go
All right,
in.
let me get last week's scoreboard up. I got to get my little projection sheet that I had. I got to get all the information available to me. I think that Sean continues to stay in the number 1 spot. I don't think he did anything wrong. I think he had a good week. I mean, 10 stolen bases was beating anybody. The runs, RBIs, and home runs were decent numbers. They weren't, smashing people, but they would have won against some teams. The strikeouts were respectable. The wins were respectable. The ERA and WHIP is respectable, and the 6 save holds, again, is good. I don't think Sean does anything to deserve moving down. He handles Jacob with the 6-3-1, or 6-1-3, excuse me. So Sean doesn't move anywhere.
The number one team in the league posts the best victory in week 2 in terms of margin, right? It makes no sense to move them.
Yeah, exactly. And again, right here, I know people are going to be very bored by this, but I can't move. I can't move JD. JD still resides at my number 2 spot. Vinny comes away with a tie, but there were some serious questions about the offense sputtering a little bit. I mean, compared to what we saw week 1 and even the start of week 2, the tail end of week 2 was not kind of the same story for a guy who had an OBP of over 500 heading into Tuesday. And somehow he was almost under 300. So maybe the offense is sputtering a little bit, again, not taking into account what he's done this week. I can't move Vinny down far. Vinny's going to 4. I'm going to be swapping him with Adam. I think Adam had a better week than his score represents. I really do. I mean, he didn't go nuclear in any category, but he was a good team straight across the board. He's either going to 5-5 or 5-4-1 like he did to anyone. I truly believe that, and I'm sure someone can go through and fact check me, and I'm wrong in that. It just kind of feels that way.
I would argue he went nuclear in ERA. Posted that elite pitching performance in the wake of his pitching injuries. Be scared of Adam, man, if he ever gets and remains healthy.
And I truly do believe that Adam's team is better than that. I think it's just one of those things that, it's any given week, anything can happen. Okay, we're going to move on to number 5. Was occupied by Jack. I don't want to put, and see, I can't, Drew, and I can't put you there either. So someone's got to leapfrog. It's gonna make me sick to my stomach to do this, like it was last week. I'm gonna put Graydon here at number 5. I think people slept on Graydon's week quite a bit. Offensively, him and I were duking it out. He had 45-10, 43-4 with a 340 OBP. And then on the pitching side of things, very respectable numbers. I think, add a pitcher or two, add a start or two. He's at 55, Ks, maybe 5 or 6 wins, and an ERA in the 3s. I mean, that's a good week against anybody. And frankly, I didn't see anyone else doing better this week. And these rankings, at least from my side of things, are going to be very heavily determined on what you did that week. So here's the one that I know people are going to absolutely.
Well, let's let Perry get his top 5.
Yeah. I'll do my top 5 now. I think Sean has to be 1. I think that's pretty clear. He's put together a good team, a good offense, good pitching staff, and I think they've been performing strongly to start the year. JD's got to be number 2. I think in terms of entire organization, he's got the strongest in terms of BAM, prospects, roster. He's got pretty much everything there, and I think going 5-5 against Vinny, who put up a good week, is pretty solid as well. I'm actually going to keep Vinny at 3. I think, tying JD, I think they were neck and neck. They should be right there. I don't see any reason to drop Vinny down. Going to have a surprise compared to Bean's ranking here, but I'm going to put Jack at number 4. I think y'all hate on Jack a little bit too much. Good manager, good team, knows how to put together it. No, the waiver wire hasn't gone his way this year so far, but I think the meat and bones of his team is very solid, and that's why he scores so high on my power ranking. And then lastly is Adam, and this is probably mostly because of injuries. He's a little banged up right now, and I think I could see him rising past Jack and passing him as the season goes on for sure, but definitely going to have Adam number 5.
You're putting the team that you just beat down at number 5. I'm curious if, Perry, you put yourself at 6, but we'll get back to you. Ben, let's hear your 6 through 10.
Number 6 is going to be the most unpopular of the night, and that's myself. And like I said, these quite unpopular. These are going to be heavily influenced on weekly performance. They truly are. And I just got to say, I had 93 Ks with 9 wins. I went 40-40 with 11 home runs and 7 stolen bases. That's a good week against anybody last week. So, I'm going to move myself around. I'm going to move other people around quite a bit. Number 7, we're going with Jack. And the only reason I'm moving Jack down these 2 spots from where I had him is I look at his week and I'm just not that impressed with it. I mean, he had 8 home runs, which was tied for second least in the league in that week. And it was close. I get that. 33 RBIs, second least in the week. 40 runs. Sure, he's right there, kind of middle of the pack with it. 4 stolen bases is nothing to write home about. We had plenty. I think we had 4 or 5 people have over 6 last week. OBP, again. What was his OBP? OBP was not bad, 3.2. But then you come to the pitching and the sky-high ERA and WHIP. And like you said, there just may not be the pitchers that Jack needs to, play that game this year. And he doesn't have much in the farm in terms of guys he can call up and send down all the time to get that volume. So that's the reason I'm moving Jack down. I think I think given time, Jack's team will average out to be better than a 7 team. I truly believe that. But that's where he currently resides. All right, so at number 8, this is where it gets tough a little bit. So at number 8, I'm going to put Max up here. Wow. I think Max actually probably deserves to be a little bit higher than that, but I want to see more from his team. I mean, Max had the most home runs in the league. He had the most RBIs, and he was second place for runs. And, he did all of that while having a very respectable ERA and whip and a respectable amount of strikeouts. Nothing else. I mean, and some good save holds, too. So Max had a good week. He just ran into a tougher opponent. And, that's just what happens sometimes.
Well, and his ERA and whip was even way more competitive with Adam, like in the low twos, like where we all would have said that it was even better, Ben, until Kyle Gibson of the Cardinals came out and gave up 7 runs to the fucking Marlins. So Max looked good. Looked real good.
Yeah, and he was 1 win away. He was 1 strikeout away from taking another tied category, 1 stolen base. It was a very close week, but that was the tale for everybody.
And I apologize. I keep thinking that Perry beat Adam last week. That was week 1. Why am I so dumb? Why can't I think of these things? Beat Max week. So you haven't played Adam yet?
No, I don't play Adam for a while, I think.
Who did? Oh, Adam played Max in the close matchup. And you played Jack and you lost 4-5-1, super close. That's right. Because Jack had the really bad ERA and whip, and you had your own bad ERA and whip, but it was still enough to beat Jack because of his streamer issues. I got you. Okay. Ben, quickly, give us your number 9, your number 10. Let's move over to Perry.
All right, number 9, we're going to go with Jacob here. Very quickly on Jacob's team, he made it close against Jack. It's a hard thing to do. I know I ranked Jack lower. Trying to do this quick. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna switch that around. I am going to put. No, you know what? I'm gonna stay with that. Jacob needs to be there. I know he struggled against Sean. I was looking at the wrong team names. I know he struggled against Sean, but if you look at the underlying stats, he didn't have that. The OBP was awful. Don't get me wrong. But he had 6 stolen bases. He had double-digit home runs. He was very close to going 40-40. He has a decent ERA and whip. The whip's maybe a little high, but 6 save holds, 54 strikeouts. They're decent numbers. They're not bad. Number 10, Perry. And Perry, the only reason I put you down this low is because there are some categories which to me it's like, I didn't think Jack had a very good week. Jack beat you. Offensively, you just really weren't there in terms of like the 40-40s were getting to be the high offenses for the week. 33-36 a little low. The 6 stolen bases is obviously great. The 300 OBP is not really beating anybody. Then you go over to the pitching side of things, 53 Ks with only a single win. Kind of a high ERA and whip. I'm really excited to see what you can do, but that's why I'm putting you down to 10. So I'm really curious to see yours.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, I have Graydon at number 6. I think he's put together 2 pretty strong weeks. He's leading his division pretty solidly. I think that maybe Bean's power rankings looked a little bit more at just week 2, and my power rankings are looking a little bit across both weeks 1 and 2 and how the season's kind of been going so far. But yeah, then number 7, I'm going to put myself. I think that I had a pretty solid week maintaining pace with Jack, although the underlying metrics weren't there. You take your 4 wins and a tie in a week against Jack, someone who I ranked a little bit higher than you as well. So I think that might show why I think it was a little bit better of a week for me than it was, even if all those underlying metrics didn't kind of go necessarily my way. I'm going to put Max right after me. I think Max had a great week too. I think he struggled a little bit against me in week 1. That's the only reason Max is below me. I think if week 1 was a little bit closer between him and I, then I would definitely have Max above me in the power rankings. Coming in at number 9, I'm going to go with Drew. I think with the Judge acquisition, I think that just boosts him to 9 almost solely in my power rankings. I think that was a good move for Drew, getting a really impactful bat on his team. So I'm going to put him at number, 9? And then at number 10,
number 9.
Yeah. At number 10, I'm going to put you, Ben. 7-13 is a tough record after 2 weeks. I think it's maybe second worst in the league right now. So, have you one spot ahead of that, mostly because of how the first 2 weeks have gone. I know you did put up a much stronger performance in week 2 than in week 1, but like I said, my power rankings have a little bit of a combination of week 1 and week 2, and I think that week 2 being, a little bit above average, but week 1 being, one of the worst in the league just drags you down towards the middle bottom 100%. Of the path there at number 10.
All right. Well, we don't need to spend too much time on the bottom teams.
Ryan,
who cares about those guys?
Ryan
in that order.
Drew. Yep, in that order. In that order. You should feel embarrassed about yourself. I told you, if you didn't beat Ryan, you were swapping places with him. So
you should feel embarrassed. You should feel embarrassed that you made power rankings that changed that much from week to week.
Nah.
You're the one who ranked me so high in the first place. That's embarrassing for you, man. Perry, you have Ryan to rank and Jacob. I assume you're going to go Jacob, Ryan, but the standings would show differently. So what do you have?
Yeah, it's got to go Jacob then Ryan. I think Jacob's, although the wins-loss haven't been there, he's put up some good weeks, and I think more wins are coming for Jacob in his future.
Excellent. Well, if you disagree with the power rankings, you know how to get a hold of Ben. You can call him out publicly, or you can give him a call and complain privately. Okay. I was about to say I'll even give you Julie's number and you can contact Julie.
No, you will not do that. That is a bad idea. You will not do that.
Okay, we kid. All right. Well, we have a very fun activity to kind of finish off this pod, and then we'll do your baseball card segment and be done, Ben.
I forgot to buy baseball cards.
Oh man, you're killing me. But that's okay. This activity may take a while. So I'm going to share my screen. And this is a grid game. And I'm sure you guys have seen the grid game before. I think we may have posted a couple of things about this in the past, but there was an Orioles grid game going on, their prospects a few years ago. Either way, you guys are going to see how this works. I have no idea if Perry and Ben were able to actually prepare this, but I will quickly explain the rules and then we will do this. So let me share my screen and then you guys tell me whether or not this looks, is it full screen? Can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah, it's solid.
Excellent. So this is the grid game. This is the grid game. They have 20 BAM to spend. Their goal, they need to acquire one player from each team. So Perry's got to pick one player from Adam's team, from Max's team, from Perry's, mine, Jack's, and Sean's team. They're doing this separately. We'll let Perry give his 6, then we'll let Ben give his 6. A couple rules. They're not super complicated. And if you guys want to do this, I'll post this in the group, and you guys can go and share your results that you get. All pitchers are in the 4 BAM row. You must acquire 2 pitchers. And that's actually kind of the only rules. So you must you must get 2 pitchers, and you must get 1 player from each team. The way that the 20 BAM breaks down is once you do your pitchers, then you got to get 1 5 BAM player, 1 3 BAM player, and you get 2 2 BAM players. That's kind of how the math breaks down here. So, Perry, if you're prepared, let me know if you need a couple minutes, but if you're prepared, I'll go ahead and let you get started on who you picked for this.
Yeah.
By the way, this is well, never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't get much time to look at this, so I'll kind of be winging it as we go. So I'll just start with the 5 BAM category. I feel like it's important to spend your money probably to get person you think is the best in that row. So I'll go with Tatis. I think he just contributes in every category. I think he's a star. So obviously
beautiful, Drew.
Everyone in this 5 BAM category is, the aces on the board. So I'll take Tatis there in the 5. Are we going to go back and forth, me and Ben, or should I just rip through it?
Yeah, let's go back and
keep
forth.
Going. No. Keep. Well, we won't be able to track it unless. Can I get a different pen color? Oh, I can. Ben, we can do this. All right. You can go in any order
I
you want.
assume that's
Just
Cole
pick a player.
Reagans. Is that a picture of Cole Reagans?
That is Cole Reagans.
I will take Cole Reagans.
All right. Now, as a reminder, what this does is you cannot now pick another guy from Adam's team, Ben.
Correct.
Okay. So Cole Reagans has been picked. We'll go back to Perry.
All right, I'll go to the pitching line now. I think we've all seen pitching be tough to come by in our league this year, so I think I want to get probably who I see as the best pitcher on the board from Sean's team, Zach Wheeler.
Okay. I think it's interesting because I think with the 5-BAM you could go Mike Trout from Sean's team, especially with how he started the season. Okay, Ben, who you got?
Injury risk.
Pete Alonso. The best pure hitter on the board.
With my okay, I'm gonna ignore that.
But no, we're not putting this in fantasy land. Mike Trout has been injured for a majority of his seasons the past few years. If it's a 100% perfectly healthy Mike Trout and he plays a full 162, it's Mike Trout all the way. But we have not seen that for a very long time.
I assume you get him for the full season.
The fact
I did
that you
put
have
the note about
Bichette at
Luis
5
Robert.
is hilarious. Keep dreaming.
It's supposed to be a game. You got to make tough decisions. You got to take one player
I
from my
certainly
team.
won't be taking Bo Bichette.
Okay, good luck taking Logan Gilbert then. Perry, who you want to take?
Let's see.
You got a pitcher, a 3-BAM, and 2 2-BAM guys.
Okay. I think I'll go with Volpe from my team. He's been a stud this year. It's really come together. That's only going to continue. He's so young. Plays for a organization that will spend money typically to get good pieces out there around him as well. So I feel confident in his future.
I'm taking Volpe too. Enough said.
Wow. Okay. So we got a double up from the 3-BAM category in Perry's team. That means Adley Rushman will not be picked. Hunter Green not being picked. Okay. Perry, you got another pitcher and 2 2-BAM guys.
Okay, let's see. I think 2-BAM. I'll go with slimmer pickings for sure in the 2-BAM. So I think I'll go with from Jack's team, Nico. I think he contributes in several different categories. So I think it would be good to get some steals, some runs, good OBP as well.
Keeping it simple, I got the same pick.
Wow. Even with the tough start to the season so far?
Yep, 100%.
All right, doubling up with the Cubs colors. That feels right on Nico Horner, and it feels so wrong as a Cardinals fan. All right, Perry, you got another 2-BAM player, and a pitcher.
So I basically got to go either Cease and Garcia or Gilbert and India. Not
So why don't you just
ideal
give us,
combinations.
I guess both of them.
Yeah, they'll both come together. So I think I'll go with strikeouts, and I'll go with Cease and Garcia.
I think that's the right move. Michael's dirty. He's better than Nico. All right, Ben.
I am going Gilbert and Giancarlo.
Okay. Gilbert and John.
For 2-BAM, if Giancarlo stayed healthy the whole season, he could hit 30 home runs.
So, to recap, Perry's team, Tatis, Dylan Cease, Anthony Volpe, Michael Garcia, Nico Horner, and Zach Wheeler. Sounds pretty good on paper. Ben, Cole Reagans, Pete Alonso, Anthony Volpe, Logan Gilbert, Nico Horner, Giancarlo. Man, I think Perry kind of blows Ben out of the water. That's just my thoughts. But I will post this. You guys can post your results if you want maybe no one cares about this. Maybe everyone thought this was really boring. I don't know. But I figured this would maybe be fun. Cool. That's kind of it.
All right.
We'll do a Conference 2 grid game later on in the season with a Conference 2 member. It's just here for Conference 1. Okay. Ben, baseball cards?
Yeah, forgot. But I did. No, I didn't. I forgot.
Do we have another podcast segment? Let me check.
We're at 53 minutes. We're right around where we wanted to be, 54 minutes.
We didn't do our player spotlight or our draft spotlight.
But frankly, none of us prepared.
The PJ Orlando one, we didn't prepare anything. I don't know. The player spotlight, again, I don't think we prepared anything. It's been a busy week of work, man. But we were set to talk about Anthony Volpe, but we actually talked quite a bit about Volpe on this pod, so I guess we kind of quasi-covered that one. The other guys we were going to highlight, we could do this super quickly. They matched up against each other in FTN last week. Tyler O'Neill is the only reason I 5-5'd against Ryan, and Jaron Duran's the only reason that Ryan 5-5'd against me. So two standout outfielders out there in Boston, really carrying that team in real life, but then making quite a fun 5-5 matchup in FTN. So both players stealing bases, both players hitting home runs. Tyler O'Neill a little bit more on the power side, Jaron Duran a little bit more on the speed side. Questions about both of them if they can keep it up. One of them's older with an injury history. The other one is younger but with inconsistencies. Players to keep an eye on for sure. We'll be back next Tuesday. Any final thoughts before we go? Perry, anything you want to say? I know we have you on, so any final thoughts?
Yeah, no, loving the start of the season for everyone. I think we talked about in kind of one of our first three highlighted segments, but just the parity in the league, everything being so close. I think even the power rankings, there's a lot to debate there because a lot of the teams have shown out that they've been really, really close. And I think a lot of active management on the rosters, even if some have been making mistakes with it or some haven't been active enough. I think it's been a little bit more active this year than last year and a little bit closer this year than last year. So I've been really enjoying the start to the season thus far and excited to see where it goes.
It's been crazy. Ben, anything else? Then I'm going to give the poll results from the group chat real quick, and then we'll be done.
Take the bet, Jack. Fuck you. That's it.
The amount of times that we've said "fuck you, Jack" in just in general, I love it, man. Jack is like public enemy number one. It should. I sometimes I feel like I'm public enemy number one, Ben. Sometimes it feels like it's you. It's been Ryan in the past. Sometimes it's JD, but it's always Jack since about 2020. Jack, you have no friends in this league, man.
Damn,
get it to yourself.
I don't know about that one. But...
Get it to yourself. In real life, sure. In FTN, no friends. Okay, poll results just real quickly. I guess it's not done. We have 11, 11, and 10 votes. Who will win Division 3? Unanimously, people are agreeing it's Graydon. Hard to kind of disagree with that one. Not much to talk about. Everyone agrees. Of FTN's quote-unquote big three, all of whom currently sit in second place, who are you most worried about? Jack winning that poll 6 to Adam's 3 to JD's 2. People
purely
split between
because
Adam
of Sean.
and JD.
Purely because of Sean.
That very well could be a factor. I also just don't like Jack's team, but I've said that enough and I don't need to keep saying it. Of FTN's Legacy Division last place teams, who are you most confident can turn it around and make a playoff chase? Max with 3, myself with 3, obviously in a tougher conference. Uncle Beandog with 5 votes. Let's see it, Ben. Vinny looks like a contender this year. You got more than just JD to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. Gonna keep working at it.
Love it. Love to see it. Perry, thanks for joining. Ben, as always. We'll be back next week, most likely on Tuesday, and we will discuss what should be another incredible week. The offense is crazy so far through Monday and Tuesday. If it keeps up, we might see some records. But thanks, everyone, and we'll see you all later.
Thanks, y'all.
All right.